Hey, welcome back to another Get Geekish podcast. Thanks so much for joining us once again. Be sure to check out the website at getgeekish.com and follow along on social media at Get Geekish. I'm Bino. Over there is Derek, my faithful co-host for this little podcast. And this week we are talking about
Spring Break!
Spring Break! Why? Well, because kids get spring break. There's a lot of people that still get spring break. As an adult with a job, I don't get spring break, and it makes me really sad, and I miss spring break. A lot of kids had it last week. Some are having it this week. Some are having it next week. But spring break is a big thing, especially in the pop culture world. If you turn on almost any teen comedy movie that involves school, at least part of the movie takes place over spring break, if not the entire purpose of the plot is about spring break. And we've been looking at a lot of movies on there. Then you can find list after list after list of spring break and beach party movies. But that's pretty much any teen movie that has people on the beach. They call it a spring break movie. But we thought we'd talk about some of the spring break movies that are out there and the fact that they've been lying to us since we were little kids about what spring break actually is.
Oh, man. I mean, like growing up, spring break, especially in high school, you had this idea of just debauchery. And I mean, I guess it still kind of is that. But would it be that without the movies portraying it that way? I mean,
I honestly don't think it was. Like I think back to the spring breaks through most of my youth, and most of them were pretty low-key. It's the joking of you see the MTV spring break and you see a beach full of thousands of shirtless 20-somethings partying with DJs on the beach and drinks flowing everywhere, and you go to real spring break in like suburban America and it's sitting in your basement playing video games or maybe going to the pool or, you know, now a lot of kids taking vacations with their families, but if you're 12 going on vacation with your family, your spring break is not lit up like a teen movie.
no.
You're like at the kids zone at a hotel while mommy and daddy are getting some drinks at the bar.
When you were in high school, did you ever, or college even, you went to Mexico for spring break, didn't you?
I did go to Mexico in spring break, but I missed most of the actual debauchery side of it. We were in Mazatlan. It was Carnival 2000, but we stayed in a nice little timeshare condo away from the downtown area because I met a couple people went back to their place they were staying, and there were 7 people staying in this one-bedroom studio apartment, and there was buildings full of these kids doing that. So, you know, they could split the cost of a $100 a night room 7 or 8 ways and multiply that times an entire building full of people. So there was some craziness going on there, but it wasn't anything like the movies. It was all the clubs and dance clubs and bars were full of people. The restaurants are full of people, and that was it. If you went into one of the clubs, yeah, it was crazy, but you go into a club any Friday night in downtown Mazatlan, I think it's going to look pretty close to the same. And like the party on the beach, yeah, that was one of the places put a DJ out there under a tent, and there was like 15 people bobbing their head out there in the sun. It's not the Dance Party USA that a lot of them make it out to be. And maybe I'm just lame. I don't know. Maybe I didn't make my own spring break cool enough growing up, but
I mean, that's what the movies were there for, right? The movies,
exactly.
The movies gave you that false hope.
Yeah, right? It is the hope. And I think it all spoils back to the fact of, for filmmakers and selling stuff, the advent of like a lot of those 80s and 90s movies, what was the selling point? Very attractive young people in bathing suits. Hey, if we can make a plot that involves kids on the beach, let's do it. And when I say kids, I mean teenagers, because it sounds weird when I say that out loud, but
we're old. I mean,
yeah.
Anybody younger than 25 is a kid.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's very similar to a lot of the FOMO that things create. Of the people think they have to be a part of. If I'm not at this thing, I'm going to miss out. If I don't go to this party, I'm never going to see a party this big again. And every spring break get together seems to bill itself as that as the ultimate destination. That if you don't come to this spring break party, your life is not worth anything.
So I do have to say, like in high school, like my senior year, me and a buddy made a plan to go to Puerto Vallarta. And we didn't follow through with it because we were poor high school kids, right? And then for spring break, I never really did anything. I mean, growing up in Colorado, landlocked, it's expensive to fly to the beach. It takes a long time to drive to the beach. So, and spring in Colorado is usually cold. So, like you said, basement playing video games. That's what we did.
Let's be honest. We had my kid's spring break was last week, and spring break started with an 18-inch snowstorm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Welcome to Colorado.
And that's the thing is, like, I was an idiot and decided, because my wife and I's anniversary is the beginning of March, so I was like, oh, let's go do something, and the beach is like 3.5 hours away from where we live now, so I was like, let's go, not thinking. And then on the way there, I'm like, hey, when does our daughter go back to, like, when is her spring break? She's like, oh, it starts now. I'm like, oh no. So we get to the hotel and it's just booked, and I'm like, oh, this is awful. So, I kind of experienced spring break as an old fuddy-duddy, and I wasn't a fan. It was just way too busy with college kids and everything. Like, we're on the beach and there's just these trucks going up and down, and I'm like, I'm too old for this. I'm like, let's go.
For the record, you never get to make fun of me for being old again.
These
damn kids! It's spring break.
I know, and the weather wasn't great. The water was cold, but we're sitting there, making the best out of it. We get to the beach at like 8 a.m. to beat everybody there, and by like 11:30, you just have all these trucks going up and down and people blasting music, and I'm like, let's go do something else. They're ruining my beach time. But anyway, I mean, that's the thing is, you're like, we're looking at a list of movies, and even these movies, I'm like, I haven't seen a lot of these, and even some of these.
Yeah, I haven't seen a lot of them too, and a lot of them don't even have that much appeal to me. Like the number one thing on all the lists, of course, is Spring Breakers, which they took the spring break trope and kind of put on its head to turn it into some creepy drug-laden murder mystery.
It wasn't a great movie. I remember walking out of the theater, because I think I got free tickets from when we worked in radio, and I walked out of the theater and went, what the hell did I just watch? Mm-hmm. It wasn't great, and James Franco in that is super creepy. But, yeah.
And you look at the posters for it, and you can see exactly how they sold tickets to it, but making a cohesive plot was not high up on that list. You got Spring Breakdown, the Amy Poehler, Parker Posey, and Rachel Dratch movie. Didn't see that one either. It looks like a Romeo and Michelle's high school reunion, but 10 years in the future and a spring break thing. I can't tell you. She's All That. I'm pretty sure that was the joke when we were in high school of Hollywood trying to make 30-somethings look like high school stars. Like, it was as bad as 90210. Like,
yeah.
And Freddie Prinze Jr., come on. Like, really? Reno 911, that's honestly one of my more likable spring break movies.
Yeah, the Reno 911, the movie, is fun.
Mm-hmm.
And they make fun of themselves, so it helps.
Yes. We've talked about it before. Self-deprecating humor goes a long way with me. If you're going to make fun of something else, you better make fun of yourself as well. Because if you're going to make fun of something else, be like, oh, look, I'm better than this, I don't know, then you've got to take yourself down a few notches, I think.
Right.
A lot of people forget about the second Revenge of the Nerds movie. It was Revenge of the Nerds on the Beach.
I forgot. I've seen it. I don't remember it. I didn't remember it until I saw the list, and I was like, oh yeah, that's one of the one movies that, like, Revenge. I've seen it. I've seen Revenge of the Nerds 3. I don't remember the plot of. Oh, I mean, the plot. I don't remember anything that happens in either of those two movies. So,
and it's. I was thinking about it of as far as these plots go, why Spring Break is so perfect for kids' teen movies is because, one, you can have kids in school, so it has that relatable content to everybody because, well, let's be honest, every kid has to go to school till they're at least, 16? So kids being in school is something everybody relates to. And Spring Break is a built-in thing where you can have a plot that involves going to school, but then also have 9 days straight where kids have free time. Mm-hmm. Because the other thing of a lot of teen movies is they have these kids that are doing all these things, and you talk to most teenagers who remember back to your teenage lives, get up, go to school, go to work, do homework. Yeah, you've got like 20 minutes a night to do something. You don't have hours to go have adventures crossing towns and state lines to have crazy things happen. But suddenly, here's Spring Break, so it's an excuse to take these kids who suddenly have a relatable class with a teacher they don't like, but now they're in a car 3 states away with no money and some drugs they found in the trunk. Like, yeah, in the trunk.
Yeah.
But it also seems kind of generic, I guess, because so many people's spring breaks are different. That the Hollywood trope of spring break gets so pigeonholed into you're going to a party beach, and that's what spring break is supposed to be.
It's very stereotypical, and that's where I think like it doesn't appeal to everybody, but everybody has that dream. Like you said, Midwest, 18 inches of snow outside. You're like, I wish I was on a beach.
Mm-hmm.
It has that dream, I guess. Just like when we watch superhero movies, like I wish I was fit and could save the world.
What are you talking about? If I was fit, I'm just kidding. Some of the ones that show up on some of the lists I keep seeing, over and over again. We're talking about spring breakers. American Pie had a spring break in it, but again, that was like that much of the movie, so it's tough to call it an actual spring break movie. But Time Magazine says this is one of the spring break movies to watch.
Yeah, I saw American Pie 2 on there, and that was summer. Like the whole point was they went to a beach house, a lake house, to get jobs and have a great summer.
Mm-hmm. National Lampoon's Van Wilder. Ryan Reynolds is kind of a breakout role for him, but again, the movie's not based about spring break. They probably mentioned it a little bit on there.
It's because they said the word once.
Yeah. It has kids in there. They're not in school for a day. Mamma Mia has spring break in it.
I don't remember that movie. I mean, I've seen it, and I don't remember spring break in it, but...
Mm-hmm. And Netflix actually has a list of the spring break movies that will inspire your next post-pandemic girls trip. This is from Cosmopolitan. Spring Breakers, number 1. Cabin in the Woods, number 2.
Cabin in the Woods is not... Is that a spring break movie?
I think it technically is.
Because
they go to a remote cabin for... I think it must be for spring break. I don't remember enough of the details. They go to a remote cabin, do the thing, and the whole murder stuff happens. So it's kind of a spring break movie. I mean, Club Dread.
Ugh.
That was an awful movie. I love the guys that make it, but that was not a good movie, and it was all about Spring Break Murder Fest. Ibiza Love Drunk. Never heard of that one. Dude. American Pie 2. 47 Meters Down.
Don't watch. 47 Meters Down is an awful movie. I'm just saying that right now. Just don't.
The description is beaches, sharks, and Mandy Moore. I could go for all 3 of those, but you say it's bad.
It's awful. Mm-hmm. It is awful. How they made a sequel to it, I don't know. But
we got Van Wilder. Then they have XOXO, where a bunch of 6 random 20-somethings meet at the biggest EDM festival in America. But the stakes are high as one of the DJs gets viral just before the festival.
Gets viral?
Yeah.
Sounds like the beginning of a zombie movie.
Spring Breakdown on their list, and then Euro Trip, which I thought was an entertaining movie.
But it's not spring break.
Nope.
That one's 100% not spring break. That's... Ugh.
And then Fire, the documentary of the party that never happened. That seems more realistic of spring break. Like,
right?
The documentary of the Fire Festival is what I think most people come home from spring break going, man, that was a big letdown. I don't even remember what happened half the time.
Where's all my money?
I'm sunburned, and I think I'm still sick.
Why is my toe green?
That reminds me of my Mexico trip. One of the most disgusting things ever was having to go to the bathroom in one of the clubs on the beach, and there was like an inch and a half of running water on the floor coming out of the bathrooms.
That wasn't water.
Some of it had to have been, but yeah, it was so awful. It's one of those times you're like, I'm just going to throw these shoes away.
That's the thing that they don't show you about spring break. I mean, yeah, they show the kids getting the hangovers, getting too drunk, or, having bad trips, but they don't show the awfulness behind the scenes.
The aftermath.
And I guess that's why movies are like fun to watch, because it takes you away from reality, but it also puts these expectations where you're like,
Yeah, you see some of those kids in the movies where they've got the hangover from who knows where, but then 2 hours later they're right as rain, shipper going at the next night. You're like, no. Even at 22, that's going to knock you down for a couple days there, Junior.
Yeah, or put you in your best friend's shower at 3 a.m. and run that thing for 4 hours and then wake up with cold water on you.
And the other part that drives me nuts about Spring Break movie, this seems like it's just a complainy podcast, but at least it's complaining about made up stuff in movies, right? That all these parties on the beaches where there's just elbow to elbow with thousands of people. Have you ever been to a real get-together like that? Do you know how much walking and driving you have to do to get to those things? To have that many people packed in one spot, most of those people probably had to walk 2, 3, 4 miles to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not all smiles and sunshine by then. They're sweaty, they're hot, they're hungry, they have to go to the bathroom, they're angry at their friend because they got in a fight in the car out on the way there, they're angry at their other friend because they can't find them. Like, Spring Break is my experience watching other people that are trying to make their ultimate spring breaks are so full of drama. Like, it makes the one like Spring Breakers a more realistic movie because at least everybody's upset at each other.
Yeah, well, that's the thing too. Is your friends always talk, oh, we're gonna go to spring break, and they're all excited, and they come back. You're like, how was it? They're like, it was okay. Oh, are you still talking with so and so? No, we got in a fight on the way there. Because I mean, that's the thing. Is like you said, you get to these big group areas, and trying to find parking at a packed place is god awful enough. Then you're trying to lug everything to your spot, you're bumping into people. This is all pre-pandemic too.
Mm-hmm.
Seeing big groups of people. Now when I just think of big groups of people, I'm like, ew.
Oh yeah, I mean, you think about like just this year. Look at the spring break in Florida. Miami put it like a declaration of emergency that people can't be out after 8 p.m. because there's too many raucous parties going on.
Mm-hmm. You.
Yeah, I mean, without COVID, I'm to the point where most of that's ew now because you're just having to share portalets with 10,000 strangers and the same street vendors and it's
because we're old.
I know it sucks, but I want kids like that. I wish someone could have convinced me when I was 20 that there's much more fun things to be done. You can do a lot of things that are going to give you some lasting memories and have a lot more fun than just going to a beach and hoping that it's going to be really fun.
So if somebody gave you money now and they were able to recreate your spring break from when you were in college, but you're going at this age, you wouldn't do it?
Well, like I said, where I was staying at, I'd still do it because if I went to right where I did before, I would literally have a condo on the beach and could just hang out on the sand all day. I'm okay with that.
Like an old fuddy-duddy.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to the club. You want to go? Nah,
bring my
I'm good.
Velcro Skechers, my zinc oxide, my umbrella, and be good to go. Your kids want to bury me in the sand?
Oh my god.
Bring me some suds.
They'd forget about you.
Yeah, but I mean, there's no way any of the other parts, like the nightlife things we've done there, no way I would even bother trying. And not because I don't think other people could have fun or it could be enjoyable for them. It's the point now it's just not fun. I don't want to stay up till 4 o'clock in the morning and hang out with people half my age. And I remember when I was that age, seeing the dudes my age now hanging out trying to be like the 20-somethings, thinking they can hang with them. Like, they were creepy.
You're creepy.
I don't ever want to be the creepy old guy. I probably am somewhere. I don't ever want to. That's like a goal in life, is to not be the creepy old guy.
At some point you've been the creepy guy. We all have,
yeah.
Unfortunately. That's the creepy old person. What's they doing here? Oh man.
Are you thinking of your rave somewhere a few years back?
Yeah.
Hey, fellow kids. I'm just here for Avicii.
Oh man, I don't know. There's movies. They fake a lot of stuff. I mean, they build it up, and we can watch a lot of these movies. We can laugh at them. We can go, but they're all fake. And unfortunately, a lot of people, it'll just keep the cycle, keep repeating. And, some people probably do legit have fun spring breaks. They go out on the beach and, like you said, just sit on it and do nothing and have the time of their life. They find themselves or whatever. Or some, might be able to travel across the pond, as it were, and do Europe real quick or, something in a week or go get lost in the wilderness. But that whole party scene, at one point it was appealing. It's not anymore. I'll still watch movies about it and laugh and be like, kids, but I'm not going to be like, oh man, I wish I had that.
Yeah, and there's fun times to be had out there, but I think there's actually a blog on Elite Daily from a girl that gives the expectations of your epic spring break expectation versus the unfortunate reality. And some of her list goes down, it pretty much hits it right on the head. Of you think the party's going to start as soon as the limo shows up to pick up your squad at the airport, when in reality you get off the plane and you're fighting to get in an Uber or find a bus to get you to your hotel. You think you're going to show up in this nice 5-star gorgeous hotel overlooking the ocean, and you're going to realize that the photos of your hotel on the website don't necessarily match the rooms you're actually in and maybe haven't for 20 or 30 years. You're going to get up in the morning, hit up the gym, and then go to the beach every day, but you're going to be sleeping off a hangover and not get out of your room till noon in the day. You're going to get the perfect tan hanging outside, but odds are either you won't get any color or you'll be burned by day 2 and be miserable, popping Advil like candy the rest of the trip. And she just goes on after all these different things. She even has a couple embedded posts from Spring Breakers, a movie. You're hoping you're going to meet a creepy club promoter who makes you feel like a rock star. But you're just going to meet a creepy guy at a bar. It's lying to you. Yeah, but it's very true. I think it's just setting people up for a lot of letdown, per se.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of these places, too, take advantage of that trope, of that spring break trope. They'll jack up prices. They'll offer you things beyond your wildest dreams. Like you said, the pictures, you show up to your hotel and it doesn't look anything like that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, save your money, kids. Sit in your basement, play video games.
Most places, unless there's a big event happening, if some places prices are going up just because it's a lot of people going, probably a red flag. Mm-hmm. I can look at ocean towns like Hawaii or Alaska, stuff like that. During a whale watching season, things get more expensive because people want to see that big thing. But Daytona Beach, when does it get more expensive? First weekend of March. Why? Is there anything happening? No, kids get spring break. Spring break. Yeah, we're going to charge them twice as much. It's bad news.
Horrible ethics.
Well, this I feel like we've been kind of a downer today, so let's pick things up a little bit and have you tell us your favorite spring break memory. Because going through school, we all had a lot of spring breaks, and I don't want you to think we're poo-pooing all spring break, because we had some fun spring breaks that just didn't involve parties on the beach. So I want to know what your favorite spring break memory is at Get Geekish on social media, or if there's a spring break movie that you think we actually really might enjoy, let me know what it is, because maybe we're missing something.
Probably we are.
It happens. But spring break movies, they've been lying to us. We all know they've been lying to us, but I've yet to find one where spring break movie is like, wow, yeah, that's amazing.
Maybe we should write our own script and send it into Hollywood. That's what we should do.
Maybe we should. Anyway, thanks for joining us. We'll talk at you next week. This is Get Geekish, and hope you had a good spring break.